A Giants podcast for Giants fans
By Giants fans.
from the offseason through the wins and the losses. It's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome on in. One Giant Step, a free agency legal tampering episode of One Giant Step. I'm not going to lie to you. I can't fully hear myself in the headphones as I do this. Can you hear me, Bryce?
I can hear you perfectly.
All right, that's odd. That is odd. Okay, well, whatever. We're going to shrug on along here. Technical difficulties to start. So here we go, Bryce.
Man, Shaun, you're looking good.
I know. So yes, does anybody follow me on Twitter and Instagram? I did make it a full 5.5 days without a single sports opinion, Giants opinion, until basically I was at the airport this morning and legal tampering was set to begin. I did successfully get in a trip with my kids and family and wife to Disney World before free agency began, and here we are. I promised an episode when we came back. Here is an episode. I am literally in my door 45 minutes from flying home. By the way, get this for you real quick before we break down what the Giants did. Where I am on Long Island, a flight that landed, and I'm not kidding, early at 3:40. I walked in my door. Granted, I had to pick up my dogs, and I had to just pick up a to-go food shopping order. I got in my door at 7:15.
Dude, seriously?
3:40, the flight lands at LaGuardia, Suffolk County, not deep into Suffolk County. And again, but quick stops. Boom, boom. Dogs, food shopping. 7:15. 3:40 to 7:15. That's traffic home from LaGuardia Airport. Meaning, I was in the car today longer than I was in an airplane from Orlando, Florida to LaGuardia Airport. There you go.
This says one thing. This says one thing. Don't move to Long Island.
Yeah, it's New York, man. New York. What can you do? But New York it is. And the Giants are here. And the Giants today have had an interesting day. I won't crown them just yet. And I won't necessarily bash them just yet. But what Bryce and I are going to do here over the course of the next 20 minutes or so is kind of parse through at the time of recording what the Giants did today, what they've gained, what they've lost, and where they stand. Now, here's the truth about podcasting in this environment. And I've learned this the hard way the last couple of years. And for those listeners that have been with us for one of these, two of these, three of these, four of these, the pre-Bryce era, or maybe you're just jumping in for the first time, like, welcome in. This is One Giant Step. The truth is, unlike live radio, where I get to do that every day on WFAN, stuff can become dated in the podcast world. Bryce and I, if more happens, likely will give you another episode at the back end of this week now, just kind of see where the Giants are going. But there might be something that happens by the time you click play on this that we have already recorded. We can't keep recording them every half an hour. That's just the nature of the biz. So here we are. I'm going to give you the timestamp. It is officially 8 p.m. Eastern time on night one of free agency legal tampering. And here is where we stand as of this moment. Bryce, would you prefer to start with I think we start with the losses. We start with the negative and then the goals. I know you were.
I want to touch on that. I obviously have thoughts on that I wanted to share with you. Okay. We're not.
Well, let me just rip through the list.
First podcast. Yeah. We're not a negatives first podcast.
No,
right? This is going to be a positive podcast. There's more pros than cons here.
Sure.
You want to start with the negative? I think there's one.
So let me just
major one.
I'll let you get to what you're more opinionated on, but let me just kind of rip through again for anything what you may have missed or whatever. The Tennessee Titans are clearly between Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll trying to put together ex-Jets and mainly ex-Giants here on the team. The Titans alone landed today Wan'Dale Robinson to a ridiculous contract of which we were totally in agreement on. They should not be giving a small slot receiver. And I love Wan'Dale Robinson. I wish him nothing but the best from the SEC. Go down there in Tennessee and kill it in Brian Daboll's system. They also added hysterically Austin Schlottman, who may start at center for the Tennessee Titans. Who was the Giants' backup center. There is a need there for the Giants. They landed Cordell Flot. I know me and Bryce will talk about that. That seemed to be, in a second, I'll give you more opinion on it. I don't know yet necessarily how to feel because I got to see what they do besides that. So, but that would seem like the biggest negative to the day. And I'm forgetting somebody that went to Tennessee as well, didn't I? Wasn't there another player that went to Tennessee? Oh, Daniel Bellinger. Yeah. Went to the Tennessee Titans. Again, hysterical that Brian Daboll's collecting these guys. And I guess,
Shaun, my biggest takeaway from free agency today. The players did. Brian Daboll didn't lose the Giants locker room.
No, clearly players liked him. And Dane Belton, our buddy Dane Belton, who was once a guest on One Giant Step pre-Bryce Gelman, he heads to the New York Jets He's going to the Jets, and the Giants have kind of plugged away at the safety position there. As far as other free agents lost, am I forgetting anybody major? Oh, and the Giants cut Jamie Gillen. More on that in a second as well. They still, at this moment, unless I missed this as well, Bryce, they still at this moment have Graham Gano on the roster. Do I have that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And there we are with that. They've cut Bobby Okereke since we last saw. So that's kind of the negatives. Now, I know Bryce feels pretty opinion on this. I guess because of what they added, we'll get to this. I'm okay with losing Bellinger. I'm okay with losing Belton. You knew I was okay with losing Wan'Dale Robinson. The Cordell Flot one, I think, was the most debated. I believe I said here and other places, Bryce, that I thought he would get a higher contract than people thought like a few weeks ago. People were talking about maybe only getting $8 million. And no way. Like, he's ascending. He's going to get paid. And he ends up signing with the Titans. Now, real quickly, when I put my head on the pillow in Orlando, Florida last night on March the 8th, I did not think the Giants were signing Cordell Flot. It just kind of, I didn't hear enough breadcrumbs. It kind of felt like, all right, you're hearing Jamel Dean, who went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're hearing this, that, and the other thing. And then when we woke up today, it felt like it was like close to being done. The Giants might have gotten Cordell Flot done before noon. And then, of course, you get the Connor Hughes tweet. I think it was Connor Hughes that said the Tennessee Titans called him last second. They were close to pen to paper. The Giants were with Flot, and Robert Saleh sold them. And then, of course, I find out they're throwing a boatload more money at him than the Giants were anyway.
Did they?
Apparently. This is what
Did you see that?
I didn't see it. I have been told this.
That changes.
Now,
if that's the case, and we find that out, then that changes my opinion. Like
I've learned. You know what, Bryce? If I've learned anything with the with the social media world, in which me with a microphone clips get taken very short in context, hear this, and then the big picture of a conversation is lost. I got to be even ultra careful with my words because this keeps coming back to blow up in my face. Boatloads of money is an over-exaggeration of me. He got more money from the Tennessee Titans. Everybody's definition of boatloads will be different, and then that will be the one thing people take from this. And, Shaun reported this. I'm not reporting this. I'm just telling you offhand. This is what I heard. Titans came in. Yeah, Robert Saleh sold them on the defensive front, but also Pitt came over and they were the highest bidder, and the Giants basically bid them adieu. Could that be not true? I guess. I trust who's telling me that, but that's fine. So, Bryce, where are you at with this?
That makes it slightly easier to stomach. If it was an issue about money, fine. But the fact that if they sold him on this last second and John Harbaugh didn't do enough and Denard Wilson didn't do enough to tell Cordell Flot, like, hey, listen, you've got a role here. You're going to thrive. We really want you here. We want you to continue to grow as a New York Giant. And if they did not do enough there, that really bothers me, Shaun. And I put that out on social media, and you answered me. You said how, and I told you I tell you about it on this podcast. Just the fact.
Well, read your tweet. Give your tweet because not everybody's on Twitter.
I said, okay. Hold on. Let me give you verbatim. Here we go. I said, what an awful look, awful in all caps. The first major L of the John Harbaugh era, utter malpractice. And that clearly struck a chord with a lot of people. I think maybe it's slightly hyperbole, but looking back on it, I still agree with the fact that it was a stupid move. And it's a bad look on the Giants organization based on what we know, based on the fact that according to all the reports on shows, you may have heard differently. I haven't. That's the thing. According to everything we've seen on social media, and according to what we haven't heard, the Giants and the Titans were in the same ballpark money-wise. And Shaun, even if they weren't at $15 million a year, you give that to an up-and-coming, homegrown New York Giant, a guy who was coming off his best season of his career, a guy who allowed a 53% completion percentage when balls were thrown at him. That is the type of player you want to continue being a Giant. And there are a multitude of people out there saying, oh, Bryce, but they could find other people. He's replaceable. I understand that. But, dude, we've been here before with these former Giants, these up-and-coming Giants. The Giants let go, other teams sign them, and they flourish into better players. And if that is a situation right here with Cordell Flot, I hate to be that guy, and I don't do that a lot, but I will be the first one to sit here and tell you, told you so. As the cornerback 2 on a team, $15 million a year is not that exorbitant of a fee for a guy that is going to be crucial to your defense. And I understand he wasn't a scheme fit with Denard Wilson, and I understand that probably played a little bit of a factor here. $15 million a year, Shaun, is that really that much? Is that too much to ask for? You tell me.
Again, this is the problem with what you're saying, Bryce, though. What we don't know And I've tried to look up these numbers before doing the thing. We see a bunch of the guarantees. We don't know what the cap hits are every year, so I'm trying to be very careful in parsing our words on, is that too much? On the surface, no. I think an ascending cornerback like that at 15 mil, clearly if the Giants wanted him enough that they were down to negotiate until last minute, it burns. I think that's the biggest burn of the day. But here's the difference, Bryce. I think that this is one of those we hold our right to have an opinion change over the next 2 weeks. Because in the real Joe Shane, Brian Dable era, and really during the Dave Gettleman era before then, I would have no confidence right now if the Giants, and this went for either a homegrown guy or a guy the Giants were pursuing and then missed out on. I'd have no confidence in the pivot. I just wouldn't. And I have to, at least in this, if Harbaugh is running the show, be amended to the pivot. Like the pivot in the past regimes would be, well, no big deal. Deonte Banks, we still believe in him. He's going to start. I don't think Deonte Banks is going to be the starting outside corner on this football team in week one.
I don't know if your dogs agree with you here. I think your dogs.
You can hear my dogs, dude. They're just home. Like everybody's. This is a nutso night in my house. Yeah. So again, we could be doing this podcast in a week, and we watch, Awuzie go somewhere else, and they don't pull off a trade, and now they're sitting there desperate at the top of round one, and they got to take the LSU corner, who may be great anyway. Maybe we're singing a different tune, but I'm with you. I would have liked Cordell Flot back, and on the surface level, I'm okay paying him that price, but it is still a boatload of money, and the Tennessee Titans are still taking a swing on a guy. And he's just happening free agency all the time. Not everybody ascends. They're doing what the Giants did a year ago with Paulson Adebo with the Saints. Like Adebo was the Flot of the Saints. So it's kind of funny.
And Adebo was hurt the year before.
Right, but he was a playmaker, third-round pick. In fact, Adebo was thought of higher in the league than Cordell Flot. So 100%. I'm just saying, you're paying a guy that you think is ascending, going to be a ball hawk. Good for Tennessee. They're just throwing money around like drunken sailors. I don't think you're not completely wrong, Bryce, but I think it's one of those. Look, they came over at the top last minute, gave them more money. The Giants, I think, have the confidence to have a plan.
I just feel this is the last thing I'll say, and we'll move on. I just feel partial to a Giant, like this homegrown guy. How many bad draft selections during the Joe Shane era didn't pan out, and you finally had to go a third-round pick, this guy, late bloomer in terms of his career. Yeah. Didn't really do much his first 3 years. In his fourth year, already completely. He was competing with Deonte Banks to start the year as a slot, as your corner, next to Adebo, and the fact that he ended up winning that job outright and then becoming the best cornerback on the Giants, and not arguably, he was the most consistent player in the secondary for the Giants. Then to lose out on that, it stinks. So that's where I'm coming from there.
I got you. I think that there are some of those guys in the hopper, and we have to keep pounding the drum on this. That I look at as homegrown guys that are going to sting more than others. Namely Jackson Dart, Cam Scatteraboo, Malik Neighbors, and maybe Abdul Carter. Like that, my list has completely changed. I'm a big Drew Phillips homer too. But I'm willing to turn the page. And I said, this team just hasn't won enough football games. So look, they lose out on Flot. Now, as far as what they've gained today, first of all, how about just keeping Jermaine Eluemunor and the price they got him? I actually think that of all the things the Giants did today, while that may not be the most sexy because it's keeping a guy, basically 13 mil, and I know we just talked about this with the values, but that's what it looks like. It's $26 million guaranteed. That's it, to a guy at right tackle that
nothing guaranteed for the third year.
Yeah, that's a great deal. Now, I don't know what hurts Eluemunor. I saw somebody on Twitter speculate that this is not the first time he's been to the open market, and guys that kind of get better with age, since they're not really coming out of it, their first contract, they tend to kind of stay on that line. Look, whatever the case may be, getting a guy like that who could bookend a tackle, and now the Giants could sit back with Marcus Bowe and go, you know what? Keep developing, big guy. Keep developing, Marcus Bowe. Andrew Thomas could get hurt. We could need you in a pinch at left tackle. You could end up playing some guard if we don't figure out what's going on there. But Jermaine Eluemunor, Andrew Thomas, you're comfortable, and that price point, Bryce, I thought it was the best deal of the day for the Giants.
It would have been an unmitigated disaster if they didn't bring him back. Think about where we'd be right now. If, let's say, Jermaine Eluemunor went to the Titans as well. The Titans signed every big Giants free agent. Where would we be right now?
Yeah,
we'd be signaling for the end of days. We'd be losing our minds. The fact that he's back, and this is what I said in our podcast discussing the top 5 guys we wanted back. I said, you sign him, you put the pen to the paper, you breathe a sigh of relief. And that's what we're doing right now. You got arguably their best right tackle in years.
Yeah.
You got him back. You got your guy back. And that's, for me, like, I like that, he's not a homegrown guy, of course, but he's coming to his own with the Giants.
He feels
that would be
feels
he's like, fan favorite. He interacts with us. Like, if the Giants lost out on another guy that grew with the Giants, it would have really bothered me.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just that. He's a great player, and he's, big fan favorite.
It would have looked bad if they showed interest in all three guys, the big three, as we call them, and came away with none. They came back with Eluemunor. And if we're being real, Flot's the most tantalizing because of his age and where he's going at the position. But the most necessary was to make sure you didn't
100%.
have a hole at right tackle. So
100%.
They got Jermaine Eluemunor. They're not worried about it. Now, as far as what else they did today, just to rip through these. First of all, we had heard that speculation with trade stuff with Tremaine Edmunds. Maybe that would be something with Kayvon Thibodeau involved. By the way, suddenly it looks like Kayvon may not be going anywhere. I guess we'll see that on draft night, what happens. But there may not be a reason once the cap space is used here. Like, what is the reason for trading him? More on that later. They bring in Tremaine Edmunds. Again, looks like a very reasonable deal. He's still only 27. He's going to be 28 years old. This will be now his third team, but he's a guy with Buffalo and then playing with Chicago now that's experienced some playoff football, got banged up a little bit last year. And here's the thing. Is Tremaine Edmunds going to get older with the Giants? Yes. But he is far from finished at that.
Yeah, that would happen.
Well, I'm just saying, like, he's going to turn 30 at some point here. So I understand you're not signing a 25-year-old. Like, you're past those 2 years. But this isn't a 36-year-old Fred Warner situation or Bobby Wagner situation with Washington last year. This is a guy still with great sideline-to-sideline speed. He's an animal. He's a winning player, and he's experienced a lot of winning football. And if we're being real, Bryce, on a team that's full of a lot of young guys or veterans like Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, and this isn't their fault, who have experienced nothing but losing, getting a veteran like this, wow, the Bucs signed Alex Anzalone. I missed that one. That happened earlier today. We're talking about the middle linebacker spot. Tremaine Edmunds, man. I like this. We talked about this. I'm all for it. I think the Giants need a little salt and pepper seasoning on this team, and I think that's the perfect kind of guy here with his age and where he's been in this league on competitive teams to play linebacker for this team. Help with the run, too.
Great in coverage. He's the type of guy you want, like a seasoned veteran. He came into the league, Shaun. I don't know if people know this. He was 19 years old. He was a teenager. When he came into the league, because he was drafted in 2018. He's, still, what is he, 27 right now? So that type of guy, as a defensive signal caller, he can be the quarterback of the defense. That's the type of player that you need on the Giants. He's 3 interceptions or 9 interceptions. Wait, I had this stat down. Hold on. What was it? I can't believe this. I had this down. This is terrible. This is live podcast.
What are you even saying?
9 picks last 3 years. Jesus Christ. I think I had it right. So 9 picks in his last 3 years as a middle linebacker. How many did Bobby Okereke have? I mean, besides the Raiders pick. But I mean, listen, this is the type of solidifying move. At $12 million a year to a middle linebacker.
Okay, but it's not the same
about that,
But remember,
it was just like that big of a need. You have to fill the need. It's another one of those situations
Bryce,
where it was a slight overpay, but
I'm going to sell you on something. Maybe a slight overpay. $12 million to an inside linebacker last year was $9 million to an inside linebacker because of the rising cap and the percentages that went up. I saw somebody put this out there, and it was true.
Cap
do the math.
Went up 1/4.
But okay, use 9 mil or whatever.
Yeah,
But if you look at a player,
okay,
time out. Instead of just the position, the kind of player he is, that $12 million is not the same as $12 million was last year, the year before. It's still, it's going to be like Edmunds getting 9 mil in the 2025. It's about that price. Yeah. I'm fine with that. I am. One I'm excited about. Now, the other one I'm excited about. How about Stout, the punter from the Ravens? They cut Jamie Gillen. They get one of the best punters in football. Now they make him the highest paid punter. And I think that was the one where people soured today and went, paying a punter this much money. Call me a stickler for special teams. One, I'm sick and tired of us not having active kickers ready to go and making field goals. You know what else I'm tired of? Punting and never pinning a team deep.
Yep.
Can somebody tell me the last time you saw Jamie Gillen pin a team inside the 5-yard line in a game that mattered and not after everything was out? I never understood the Jamie Gillen thing the last couple of years. I kept looking at this going, the bigger problem with the Giants is kicker, and it's taking the focus off the fact that this isn't a very good punter the Giants have at all. So they invested there, and look, not that you want to be punting the football, but if you're going to do it, field position and flipping field position is so important in this league.
Shaun, you're paying a premium for a guy that pinned his opponents inside the 20, 45% of the time. Jamie Gillen did it 31% of the time.
Yeah.
14% more of the time.
Huge difference.
That's like
I'm glad you brought up that stat.
5 to 10 punts a year. And like that adds up. Like that helps you win games. That could be, Shaun, 1 or 2 wins. You add that with the punter. That's not hyperbole. So yeah,
no, it's a big deal.
It's slightly an overpay. Fine. He was first team all pro. There you go. That's your answer. Next.
Okay, and then I guess the biggest splash of the day and the first splash the Giants made was bringing in Isaiah Likely, which was a name that Bryce and I immediately, upon the hiring of John Harbaugh, mentioned. And then it felt like everybody in the world shifted to Tyler Linderbaum being the guy who ended up going to the Raiders. And we kind of sniffed off the Isaiah Likely thing. There was even stupid rumors that Isaiah Likely and John Harbaugh didn't get along or Likely didn't. Remember that stuff that was going on? Like who knew who was floating that where? Turns out, nonsense. Isaiah Likely now is that kind of guy. This almost reminds me when the Giants signed, and it was only for 1 year, but he was good for the 1 year when they got Martellus Bennett from the Cowboys, who was a second tight end at the time, but was a guy you knew was emerging. He was behind Jason Witten, and you just knew he could make plays, and he ends up having a good career. But this is a longer deal than that. He was behind Mark Andrews, but they used him plenty. He's a guy who could stretch the ball down the field. And what I like about this is that Isaiah Likely, while we're focused on the tight end stuff, and surely he's going to take some snaps in single tight end formations, I'm assuming away from Theo Johnson, but over the most part, they're going to use him as a big slot type receiver. We talked about this. We talked about if they lost Wan'Dale Robinson. There will be plenty of stuff, plenty of formations out there where he's just split in the slot, and he's taking Wan'Dale Robinson reps, but also he can stretch the field down the field. I think immediately he is, besides Malik Neighbors, their second best weapon inside the passing game. And look, that's just necessary. It's getting, without overspending on Alec Pierce at wide receiver or throwing a ton of money at Wan'Dale Robinson. This is getting very creative in finding a way to get Jackson Dart another weapon and an ascending player nonetheless. Every time you put on a Raven game, and boy, did I bet a ton of props in Baltimore Raven games, though the Isaiah Likely games are infinitely more fun when they were going to him more than Andrews because of his ability. I mean, he scored the first touchdown in football a couple of years ago on that Thursday night opener, and then he had that great toe drag at the back of the end zone. Like, great feet control, man. I'm pumped about Isaiah Likely. Again, it just shows you, like, we sniffed this a month and a half ago, and when I went to bed last night, I didn't think they were signing Isaiah Likely, and then they come out, and that's the first one they nail.
Yeah. I saying that out loud, what you just said, it's like, damn, this is not a good situation. Saying that he's the number 2 option for Jackson Dart. And like, listen, that's not a knock on him, but it's like, all right, maybe we need to refocus here. And maybe the Giants need to use that second round pick. And the cornerback is a completely different story. And I don't think it's a story for another day. Like, very soon, we're going to have that conversation about cornerback. But when we talk about options, wide receiver 2, Shaun, is up there now. It's 1 or 2. It's corner and that. All right. Like,
and they might trade for Brian Thomas if you believe Connor Hughes. Romeo Dobbs is still available, or they go to the draft. Bryce, I'm not saying it's not a need.
No. I'm just saying. Say when you said that out loud, it was like, oh shit, like that's okay. That's not great. But as a pure receiving tight end and a guy who in 9 games without Mark Andrews as a Raven, 6 touchdowns, average 50 yards receiving per game. He's the pure receiving tight end that they haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram was that last guy. Couldn't catch the ball. That's another story for another day. Likely can.
Yeah.
And we know Theo Johnson can't. Finally, you have a tight end who can use both of his hands to corral the ball and put it down into his possession.
Well, and again, they scored a ton of points with Jackson Dart. We went over this. Their points per game with Jackson Dart was so much better than what it had been prior. And think about this. Jackson Dart did not have Malik Neighbors or Isaiah Likely. He now has both in this offense. Think of it as adding both. I know it's very Yankee-like to mention that.
Sound like Brian Cashman.
I know.
Headline acquisitions.
I know. And then just to kind of real quickly, they end up signing Ardarius Washington, who was a Raven, missed last year Achilles. He's basically a 3rd, 4th safety type, plays in special teams. He's going to replace Dane Belton. They took care of that. Easy peasy. Got the safety depth they needed. It's one less thing to worry about. And they bring back Isaiah Hodgins, which is maybe slightly surprised. But also when we're talking about what Isaiah Likely is going to do, Isaiah Hodgins can slide in, even though he's bigger than Wan'Dale, and he could play a lot of slot receiver reps. And he's a guy at the back end. It seems like they're paying him little to no money, so I'm fine with that. What's left that me and Bryce haven't talked about? what they're going to do about the offensive line beyond Jermaine Eluemunor. Felt like they wanted to take care of that first. There's been a million rumors about the guard position, from Elijah Vera Tucker to Wyatt Teller to John Runyon staying or going. We will track all of that. And when they do make a move on the offensive line, at some point this week, you're going to get bonus cantos. That's bonus baseball. It's extra innings. But really, it's bonus football. We will bring you kind of another roundup edition here on what the Giants have done in free agency, because they ain't done shopping. And I like that. Bryce, did you find any other nugget here before we sign off? You're staring down.
I was looking to see, because I saw a few tweets that had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
We're good.
All right,
I just wanted to check. My phone was going off. I'm like, do we have a live reaction situation? No, we don't. Good.
Well, that's great. Which means I'm sure something will break the moment we're done doing this. But either way, This is we'll just call this part 1 of what the Giants have done in free agency. And part 2, well, at some point when they do something else this week, we'll come to you. I'm teaching tomorrow on Tuesday. If we have to do something, maybe. If not Wednesday.
I've got something in the works tomorrow. I'm going to tell you about this when we end this. I know you got to run, but I got something quick for you.
All right. Thanks everybody for taking one giant free agency step with us.